I really appreciate these comments. Girls Farm on IG says freedom of speech is being systematically destroyed. Pedro Silva says, once you lose freedom of speech, all other rights will follow. I couldn't agree more with you, brother. Liquid Light on IG says, do not trust our social media at all. The Pensive Place also says, no trust in social media platforms. Teresa on IG says, yes, censorship is wrong. Freedom of speech is our birthright. You are so right, Teresa. I appreciate your thoughts. Aries suggests, you are the only one who I trust at this point. Thank you, Aries. You know, we've been blessed to set up this digital freedom platform, and I'll get into that shortly, the genesis of that. Lee says censorship is a violation of our rights. Yoga Cherry says exactly. Who fact checks the fact checkers? Great question there. Allison on IG says censorship is wrong, which is great. And Dunia says that she said, loved your Reconnect YouTube movie recently. Thank you so much for that. It gets further. Emma Burwash says, Brian for mayor. Thank you, Emma. I appreciate that. It's very humbling. Teresa says the same thing. Mayor Brian, yes. Sean also saying Brian for mayor. Steven says, my support is with you. You are a father that this world needs. You inspire me to be the person that speaks my mind. Love you, brother. Steve, I love you back, man, and thank you so much. Again, I feel like I'm running for the 9 million people in this city, and I feel like when I'm elected, we are elected. We will all move into that office together, and we'll start acting in the interests of our citizens, period. And I don't think that's ever been done for in the office of mayor in this country, and that's what we plan on doing. So I appreciate the comments. If you're coming in late, we're talking about censorship here. It's really important, and I want to get your thoughts. So again, type in the chat right now. Tell me, do you think censorship is wrong and why? Do you believe the fact checkers and who checks the fact checkers? Do you think an adult should have the right to consume the information they choose? Do you trust our social media companies to tell the truth? And finally, do we need better leadership? If you're watching here, first of all, I appreciate you being here. It's a really important, and I need your help in spreading this word. Do you think censorship is wrong and why? Do you believe the fact checkers and who checks the fact checkers? Do you think as an adult that you should be able to decide the information you consume and put in your brain? Do you trust the social media platforms to tell you the truth? And do we need better leadership? So while you're typing those in, I want to play a video of of John Cleese from Monty Python talking about freedom of speech. And this is from an interview I had with him recently where I explained to him how we were being censored. And you can see John's reaction. Here he is. And I wanted to start off and talk a little bit about censorship because it's something you've talked about for a long time, but I didn't really feel it until April of this year when we started having conversations with people and we had a narrative that was different than the mainstream media, different than the government, and we were censored on the technology platforms. Ofcom wouldn't allow our programs to be put on television. We were attacked by the BBC and a lot of publications. And it was a really bumpy ride, John. And
I understand a lot of this. Let me ask you a couple of questions. You've been doing this for 9 years.
Yeah, 9 years. Didn't have a
8 years without any problems. And then in April, you did something that was not on the beaten track. And you got which can I ask? What did people complain about?
Well, what happened is we started the lockdown here, and the government was kind of saying this is what's happening. And we started asking questions about, are we sure of the details? And let's talk about the science. And we started having different conversations than the government and the mainstream media was having. And as opposed to just have those ideas out there, free speech, to let people decide for themselves, we got shut down. It was almost like they were treating our viewers not like adults, but almost as children that had to be protected.
But I ask you, were they criticizing you or were they actually shutting you down so that you couldn't broadcast?
Well, great question. So YouTube, which is, the biggest really video streaming platform in the world, on April 6th, John, we did the second largest YouTube live stream in the world. So it was massive. 65,000 people were watching concurrently.
Why was it so big?
Because we were talking about ideas that were different than the government. We were asking the government, okay, tell us more about this. Why do we have to lock down? Is it really the right thing to do? And what happened is 30 minutes later, the episode was deleted and then we were banned from continuing to stream on YouTube. So it was really interesting to see the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the YouTubes really shut us down. And it was my first introduction, John, to this world of censorship and mainstream media attacks. So it was a real introduction for me to this whole new world that I think you've been talking about for a long time.
Well, yes, but you see, because I'm a comedian and therefore what I do isn't serious, I don't think anybody's ever got to the point of closing me down. I mean, sometimes they get upset because somebody said a word, like a recent thing with the Major on Fawlty Towers, but nobody's ever closed me down. It seems to me at first sight to be an absolute disgrace. I mean, the whole point of a democracy, of a society where people feel free to live their own lives and to express their own thoughts. So not being allowed to challenge the government is an absolute disgrace. And there seems to be at the moment a wave of authoritarianism all over the world, whether you look at Russia or China or India or Israel, but now even here. I mean, we knew it was always the case in America.